Welcome back to The Bible is Art, where we explore the literary artistry of the Bible. And in this week, if you have ever thought that the Proverbs were simple, obvious pieces of moral wisdom, then what we are going to talk about today will completely change the way you read the Proverbs. That was me too for 32 years of my life. I thought the Proverbs were kind of really simple and obvious moral realities that are important, but not very profound. And I was not alone, and you can read a surprising number of scholars who say the same thing. But the surprising thing that I've learned is that the Proverbs are actually the exact opposite. They're not just not that, but they are actually the opposite. And I'll explain what I mean in a second after we do an experiment. So let's do this together. Let's suppose that they are very simple moral truths. And if they are, then we should be able to sort of fill them in. So I will read the first line of the proverb, and you fill in the second line because they're so obvious and simple. So let's just open up chapter 10 in Proverbs, and let's start with the 6th proverb. And it reads this: Blessings are on the head of the righteous. Stop. Now, what is the obvious, expected conclusion to that? Well, okay, this is pretty obvious, right? It's cursings are on the head of the wicked. Answer? Incorrect. The answer is blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Well, that was not expected. And that is not like the obvious opposite of the first line. Okay, well, maybe that's just like a weird one. Okay, let's go to 2 down. Okay, this is 10:8, and this is what this proverb says. It says, the wise of heart will receive commandments. Okay, what are we expecting the next line to be? Okay, well, this is obvious. But the foolish of heart will not receive the commandments. Or okay, wait, I know what you're doing. So maybe it's the foolish of heart will reject the commandments. There we go. That's it. And the answer is no, I'm sorry. Once again, the wise of heart will receive commandments, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. You see, Solomon wrote the Proverbs to be unexpected. He could have written the obvious opposite, the obvious antithesis of the line, but he doesn't. And our job is to understand why. And here is the genius. Solomon wrote the Proverbs in order to be difficult, in order to be opaque, in order that you would have to do work to get to the bottom of them. You see, the Proverbs are these 2-line gems, these 2 moral, social, psychological, theological statements that are put together, and they're unexpectedly put together. The second line isn't what we'd expect, and the whole point of it is so that we would puzzle, and in the puzzling become wise. Imagine this with me. Imagine that someone gave you the literary task and they said, I want you to write something that communicates wisdom, that teaches wisdom. But I don't want you to just give the content of wisdom. I want you to write in such a way that even when they are reading, they're becoming wise. Well, I don't even know where I would start with that. But you see, that's precisely what Solomon has done. By making that second line opaque, difficult, it makes us puzzle. It slows us down so we have to work through these things. Solomon is taking two moral statements, two statements about reality, social spheres, speech, whatever, the world, and he's putting them together. He's putting these two lines together and saying there is a connection between these two things that you didn't know existed before, but it exists, and you have to figure out how. You see, the Proverbs are one thing. They're one thing, but with two lines. And sometimes we think that we've understood the Proverbs when we've understood what the first line means and what the second line means. But that's only the first step. It's like learning the alphabet and thinking you know how to read. No, you understand the proverb when you understand how the two lines are one. How these two lines relate, how these seemingly incongruous moral realities relate. It is giving us a moral anatomy or moral architecture. It's kind of like Einstein's great discovery, E equals mc squared. And what Einstein did is he didn't discover a new object or a new element. No, he discovered the relation between two things, three things that we knew for a long time existed. But we didn't understand how they related. Energy, mass, and the speed of light. Or to give another example, it's kind of like the design exercise where you take a color and a shape, or a color and a typeface, and you have to make a good design. And you might first think that this shape and this color don't go well together, but they do. You just have to have the skill to know how. So you could be given a spatula and the color yellow, or a smile, and you have to make something like this. So let me show you how this works. And I want to look at that last proverb that we read. And to remind you, it says that the wise of heart receive commandments, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. So what's going on here? How do those two lines relate? Well, whenever Solomon gives a proverb, the sort of obvious thing that we'd expect is no doubt true. Solomon presupposes it. He doesn't tell us the obvious opposite because he knows we can figure that out. He wants to deepen our knowledge of the structure of the moral world, of the social world. And so in that second line, he gives us the moral antithesis of the wise of heart. And the antithesis is not just a fool who doesn't receive commandments. Well, that's no doubt true. We all know that. But there's something deeper that we may have missed. Sometimes it's kind of like someone who misses social clues. Their social intelligence, their moral intelligence is not functioning correctly, and he wants to sharpen our perception. And he does that by noting this interesting relationship. That is, that the wise of heart is contrasted with the babbling fool. Notice what he's done. The contrast is wise of heart, babbling fool. Notice in that second line, the fool literarily does not have a heart. And why does he not have a heart literarily? Because in essence, he doesn't. The heart in Hebrew means your thinking and feeling organ. It's your center of consciousness. And he has left it out literarily, and he has replaced it not with an organ like a mouth, but simply with an action, babbling. And this is because when you close yourself off, when you are no longer capable of reception of these commandments, these instructions, you substitute it with this extraordinary activity, constant speaking and talking. And what does that do? It brings you to ruin. Well, why does it bring you to ruin? Well, the opposite of ruin is building up. And you can't build up yourself, your moral and social sphere, your moral and social building, unless you receive instruction, commandments. But you see, the fool doesn't receive, he's constantly talking. He doesn't have an organ of intelligence, of thinking, of feeling, and he's just running his mouth. So like a construction crew who has no plans, they are unable to do anything and will come to ruin. So that's the deeper reality that Solomon wants to get in ourselves to make these new connections. So the next time that you're reading a proverb, cover up that second line, read the first, and tell yourself, what are you expecting to read? Then uncover that second line and get to the hard work of understanding why Solomon didn't write that. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video this week. I really appreciate it. Just a few pieces of housekeeping work. I set up a Patreon page that if you like the videos and would like to support this channel, I would really appreciate. You can check it out there. It's just patreon.com/thebibleisart. Also, I showed a logo in this episode from the amazing designer Von Glitchka. You can see his work here. He's an amazing designer if you need logos or branding or anything like that. I highly recommend him. I've learned a lot from him. And that's it. Thanks so much.